temporary deputy treasurer, and then you're the deputy treasurer on retirement. You probably are if you're doing a good job. And anytime you're hiring somebody on a short-term basis, oftentimes you pay a premium for that.
Mr. Whitman.
I guess that is a bit of a concern. When was the last time we fired anybody?
2 years.
So what another concern would be is we hire somebody at a grade 11 now that performs at a grade 11. What are the chances we're going to get rid of them? We're most likely going to start paying them at a grade 12 if their position ever changes.
The position expires.
I'd rather have the 12 now and get the performance now and utilize it in the future if we need it.
And it's important to recognize too that the ranges for these are, what you're doing when you set the range is you're setting the minimum salary. And there's the threshold is that the department head and the human resources, the practice has been that up to 10% over the base they've approved. Over that, they've gone to the administrator. So the base for a 12, 84?
Base for 12 is 80.
80. So we're paying Padlick 92. So if you add that 10% to that, you're at 90. If we set it at an 11 and we're at 74, you add the 10%, we're not touching it. And then if I were to approve a higher salary, I'd really be blowing the grid and not following with the directive of the legislature. So I believe there's a sound reason to just focusing on this piece of the deputy treasurer to do it at a 12.
Mr. Foley.
Yeah, Justin, I believe I've had a conversation with you before where you said that you would try to look for qualities in the candidate that also might be able to help out in the finance department. But it seems like tonight you're saying that this is just for the position to get it through this year, so.
Both things are true.
No.
The 12 is justified on the deputy treasurer position alone. Would I, in any hiring, look for someone that has promise and potential to help the organization in any number of ways, that has growth opportunity? I would do that in any position that I was hiring, not just this one. And I'm showing you where I'd like to go. I mean, I do believe this could be a two-step process. That's subject to your approval.
Ms. Daly.
The only confusion I had is there was a debate, a big conversation at Ways and Means, and I thought when I had asked Mr. Russell, if we were filling behind the incumbent and they would just assume the incumbent's duties, was that how the grade 11 came? And I thought the answer was yes. I graded this position based on the current job that the incumbent was doing. When the 12 came in, I thought you said that was, you added the additional duties of what this finance director would do, which potentially isn't going to start till January.
No, that what it was he graded the 11 when they graded the position 2 years ago.
I thought it was just looked at right
was
now.
2 years ago when you graded 11, and they 3 years ago when he recommended it be graded 11, and the legislature graded it an 8. When he graded it this time, based on the qualifications and the duties, that's when it graded at a 12. That's why the resolution was 12. It was amended at Ways and Means.
It was not additional duties of a finance director.
No, but that was part of the conversation. But no, it was based on the duties.
And
12
increasing
was-
the minimum
12
qualifications.
was more in line of what's currently being done now.
Further discussion on the amendment. Mr. DeForest.
I'm just curious, I hate to put you on the spot, but it seems to me that this is a position that could eventually become financial director if we go down that path. So we talk about a $90,000 position, and we approve this. What would be your guesstimate on what that director of finance salary would come at? Because we know it's not going to stay at the $92,000.
I don't know. I mean, I initially am more focused on the organization and what our present needs are. And, you know, when we get into making a proposal, then we'll grade it out, we'll put the duty statement, we'll put the numbers in.
Would it be fair to say, though, that that position would require greater investment?
I don't know. It depends on how much, it depends, if we were to just take the units that are presently in the treasurer's office and move them out independently, I don't necessarily believe that would warrant adding to the salary. If we were to add significant other duties and oversight of other areas, beginning to integrate centralized financial operations with nodes down into the independent accounting units that are based in certain departments, then that would be part of the grade analysis that I would ask civil service and HR to do. So we haven't done that work yet, and I don't know. And it might not all be done at once, right? It could be that we move the unit out, and 2 years later, after that's up and running, and we've got our purchasing going, and, you know, other things are going, then we begin to add those other pieces. You know, we can't change everything at once. I might
Mr.
like
Whitman.
to, but.
Can we have a roll call vote?
Mr. Batman?
Okay, one final comment, if I may. Number one, the Auburn, it's never been, for any position in this county, a target community. The Auburn pays almost every position more than we do. Their police are significantly paid higher. So to suggest that that's the market is just not accurate. It's not that it's irrelevant, but we do have target communities. More importantly, what we're attempting to do, and it's what I said before, is we're trying to fill a position for a need we have right now. That's what we need to do, and we need to plan for the future as we plan for the future and not anticipate that. And I would agree, if we happen to get someone that works out for that future need, great. But since we can't define that future need, in theory, it's going to be impossible to hire for it. I would remind that I absolutely support filling the position. I absolutely am opposed to a grade 12, and it requires just want to point out the arithmetic. It requires a 2/3 vote to fund this, and I don't want to see this go down over some quibbling about an 11 or 12 about the current or the future. We have a current need, let's fill it. If you happen to find someone that you think is dynamite and will meet our needs for into the 21st century, then that perhaps is a different argument. But this has not been searched. There have been, I understand, a discussion or two, but it has never been advertised. It's not out anywhere. We don't know what the market is. We don't know what we might find. What we do know is we need people to do work tomorrow, and that's what we need to focus on. And anything other, I'm opposed to.
Mr. Lattimore?
How much do we pay professors at the college?
Mr. Whitman?
So, the way I understand it is the position that we need to fill now has been graded at a 12. And now the legislature wants to step in and say, no, we want to pay less. We only want to pay an 11.
I would agree with that statement after Ways and Means. At Ways and Means, I suggested that we didn't look at the responsibilities or duties, all we did was look at the salary, and it was decided to go to an 11. So the amendment is out there. Any further discussion on the amendment?
I think the question's been called.
Oh, I did not hear.
Did I hear that right or not?
You did.
All right, then we're going to vote on the amendment.
Okay, Tucker Whitman,
Yes.
Andy Dennison,
Yes.
Ben Vitale,
No.
Chris Petras,
Yes.
Paul Pinkney,
No.
Ely McDade Coleman is excused, Keith Batman,
No.
Joe DeForest,
No.
Charlie Ripley,
Yes.
Joseph Bennett,
Yes.
Elaine Daly,
No.
Timothy Lattimore,
Yes.
Michael Didio,
No.
Ryan Foley, Pat Mahonik,
Yes.
Defeated.
defeated.
All right, that brings us back to the original resolution.
Could I call the question on the original?
Absolutely, it's going to require a roll call vote.
This would be a 2/3, correct?
Yep.
Tucker Whitman,
No.
Andy Dennison,
No.
Ben Vitale,
Yes.
Chris Petras,
Is this for the 11 or the 12?
The 11.
11.
It's for hiring the position.
To hire it.
The original. Yes. Paul Pinkney,
Yes.
Aileen McDad Coleman is excused. Keith Batman,
Yes.
Joe DeForest, Charlie Ripley,
Yes.
Joseph Bennett,
No.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Timothy Lattimore,
No.
Michael Didio,
Yes.
Brian Foley,
Yes.
Pat Mahonik.
Yes.
Passed. Oh,
Voted yes on both of them, Mr. Chairman.
Gotta have the position.
So maybe with the bathwater on that one.
Just, Mr. Chair, if I may, so, if I understand, there was some concern about hiring it at the higher level, but now there's no approval to hire at all.
That's correct.
We need somebody in this position, and I certainly would appreciate having done it at the higher level, but we need at least the ability to try to hire somebody into this role. And I mean, I don't know what the rules of order are, if somebody can bring a motion,
Take the legislature,
a motion to
bring it back to the
reconsider,
board.
but we desperately need this position. Excuse me?
I
Mr. Whitman.
recommend bringing it back as a 12, and then we can get a decent employee in that position.
I
second that.
Hang on a second, that amendment failed.
So I'm bringing back a new resolution at a
It's the
12.
same resolution.
Okay.
They both failed, so now what?
The
Make it a
only-
13.
The only thing that could be done is a motion to reconsider, and that would have to pass by a majority vote.
So motion
And it would have to be done tonight.
Right. And a quick point, if I may. I don't know if we follow Robert's rules or not, but if we do, the motion to reconsider has to be made and seconded by someone who voted no.
Correct.
I'm not sure if that applies, Fred, that's
Well,
Robert's rules, but I don't know if we
Unfortunately,
follow.
we don't have any provision in our existing rules that relates to this, so I generally defer to Robert's rules. So somebody who voted
He did.
against it would have to change their mind.
Or at least,
I'll make a motion that we go
At least
to
I'll take-
11.
Thank you.
No, you can't.
No, he voted.
No on the original, or, I voted no on this.
this would be to bring back the original, the motion.
To bring back the grade 11.
The 11th.
Original, okay.
So is there anybody that voted no on the 11, the original resolution, that's willing to bring it back and,
Mr. Lattimore just did.
did he vote no?
Yes, he did vote no. He did vote no.
Okay. So you're bringing it back, Mr. Lattimore?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's do it again.
Does he need
There's
a
a
second?
second and a vote.
Yeah, there's a
Motion to
second.
reconsider.
Do we have a second?
So I'll second it.
All right, any discussion on the motion to reconsider?
Yes, I've got a question for the lawyer. How come you can only bring back the original resolution and not the other resolution, the amended resolution?
It wasn't
It was
amended.
never amended.
It was defeated.
No, but my question is, the amended resolution was defeated, the original resolution was defeated. Why can only one, the original, be brought back and not the other?
Well, I think the question is, why can't he just make a new resolution to approve it out of 12?
That was defeated, that amendment was defeated.
The amendment to the other resolution,
But any legislator can bring a resolution to the floor at any time.
it still requires a two-thirds vote, it's still gonna fail.
It's still gonna, unless somebody's gonna change their minds, it's still gonna fail. So, why would you do why would you do the motion to reconsider if everybody's gonna vote the same?
We're gonna
Have
do-
the same result.
There's a motion on the floor to go to 11. It's been
Motion on-
seconded.
To reconsider.
Yes, and we're discussing that motion after it was seconded.
Right. I call the question, let's go.
All right, let's vote.
Motion to reconsider.
You have to make sure.
Yeah,
No, this is just a motion, the majority.
okay.
On the motion
So the motion to,
to reconsider.
the vote on the motion to reconsider, all in favor?
aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Good.
All right, now we'll do a roll call vote.
Be clear what we're voting on.
Yeah.
We are voting on the original resolution, which grades it at an 11,
This will be a two-thirds vote.
and it requires two-thirds.
Okay, Elsa.
Okay.
Question.
Tucker Whitman,
Same vote, no.
Yeah.
Andy Dennison,
I still never got an answer to my question. Why we can bring this one up and not the other one?
It should have been, it could have been done after the amendment failed. It wasn't. You can't go back that far.
Yes.
Ben Vitale,
Yes.
Chris Petrus,
Yes.
Paul Pinkney,
Yes.
Elaine McNabb Coleman is excused, Keith Batman,
Yes.
Joe DeForest,
Yes.
Charlie Ripley,
Yes.
Joseph Bennett,
As much as I'm against it, yes, because Jim needs a person in his office.
Right.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Timothy Lattimore,
Yes.
Michael Didio,
Yes.
Ryan Foley,
Yes.
Pat Mahoney.
Yes.
Passed.
Sorry, Jim.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Bennett, what else you got for us?
WM 10.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, are we having fun yet? We're at Ways and Means 9, amending the resolution, authorize compliance on plan and program, and designated corporate compliance officer, and appoint a compliance committee. We had some discussion, I believe, there's some monetary thrown at it, and I believe it was put down that it's just gonna go as is. Is that correct?
And that
gonna be
HR was gonna do a
regrade.
review of the position and then come back next month.
Okay, so.
So we're gonna regrade the position for next month.
Some more fun next month. We're naming the officer, the compliance officer, we're not giving any financial,
No stipends,
no stipend, and it'll come back next month after it's reviewed by HR and regraded.
Move it.
Any discussion?
Hope not.
Amend it.
If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried.
Ways and Means 10, amend the county administrator's 2018 budget. That requires a 2/3 vote.
And this is just housekeeping to clean up all the stuff that we agreed to in the contract.
Move it.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call vote?
All set? Okay. Tucker Whitman,
Yes.
Andy Dennison,
Yes.
Ben Vitale,
Yeah.
Chris Petrus,
Yes.
Paul Pinkney,
Yes.
Aileen McNabb Coleman is excused, Keith Batman,
Yes.
Joe DeForest,
Yes.
Charlie Ripley, Joseph Bennett,
Yes.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Timothy Lattimore,
Yes.
Michael Didio,
Yes.
Ryan Foley,
Yes.
Pat Mahoney.
Yes.
Passed.
Oh, thank God. All right, Mr. Bennett, anything else?
And
1A and 1B, you want to bring those forward?
I guess we will, Mr. Chair, thank you. 1A and 1B has been through committee and passed. I'd like to offer them up as a bundle unless somebody wants to separate them, have a discussion.
Move it. Amendment.
Discussion, Mr. Foley.
Mr. Chair, just as a point of order, should we get WM 11?
Anybody can bring that forward after we vote on these two. So, any further discussion on 1A, 1B? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Go ahead. Mr. Foley.
So this seems rather unusual because usually the chair of the committee brings the resolution forward, but it doesn't appear that that's going to happen, so I'll bring it forward as a motion for WM 11.
We have a second by Mr. DeForest. Any discussion? Mr. Bennett.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to go on record saying I support the college 100%, but I do not support the $42,000. In the past, I have seen them drop that much in 6 months or so when they rearrange offices 3-4 times the same offices. When I've seen them utilize funds that should not be utilized when we have furniture and stuff, when they have furniture that's in storage there, they go out and spend more money. So I don't believe they need the $42,000.
Other discussion? Mr. Whitman.
I don't know what it is off the top of my head, but I know the college's fund balance has been slowly increasing along with the counties. I take a bit of issue with both, ours and theirs. I feel like they're in a pretty comfortable position right now. I'll be voting no.
Any other discussion? Mr. Batman.
Yeah, of course, it's everyone's priority or prerogative, rather, to vote how they wish, but I would suggest that the reason that the college has come out of near bankruptcy is because of financial responsibility and prudence. So there seems inconsistency to say, on the one hand, money has been wasted, on the other hand, the the fund balance has improved. I would also point out that I think, I'm pretty confident, pretty comfortable saying that the fund balance for the college is is at the lower range of what is recommended for an institution of higher education. So it's not as if they have a huge fund balance that they can rely on. And the reason there's a fund balance is because of that fiscal prudence. And if we put them in a position where they have to draw upon that or increase tuition in order to stay within those parameters, then we're doing no one any service.
And I would agree, and I would just say that as a sponsor of the college, there are parameters that we are supposed to be hitting as far as how much we fund for their budget, and we are not even close to what we should be funding. So this is it's an adjustment. It's the right adjustment. I mean, it's not coming in for a $250,000 ask. It's a $42,000 ask, and it allows us to keep the tuition down, keep fees down, and allow the college to continue down the path it's going and continue to grow. Mr. Lattimore.
Mr. Chairman, I've always been supportive of the college, and I'll continue to support them, especially at 42,000. But I am concerned, as Mr. Bennett is, in regards to some of the spends that's going on up there. I mean, the legal bill, the Fulton campus, I know it may be the foundation, maybe it's this one, maybe, I don't know which pocket it's coming out of, but it's being spent on college issues, and it is a concern of mine and Mr. Bennett's, but I'll vote for 42,000.
Mr. Vitale.
I'm going to call the question and ask for a roll call vote.
Perfect. Another roll call vote.
At least this ain't 2/3 though, is it?
How's that?
I make a
Yep.
motion.
Tucker Whitman,
No.
Andy Dennison,
No.
Ben Vitale,
Yes.
Chris Petras,
Yes.
Paul Pinkney,
No.
Aileen McNabb Coleman is excused, Keith Batman,
Yes.
Joseph DeForest,
Yes.
Charlie Ripley,
Yes.
Joseph Bennett,
No.
Elaine Daly,
Yes.
Timothy Lattimore,
Reluctantly, yes.
Michael Didio,
No.
Ryan Foley,
Yes.
Pat Mahoney.
Yes.
Passed.
Passed.
Thank you.
Savior of education.
All right. Mr. Bennett, anything else? Mr. Bennett, anything else from Ways and Means?
God, no. Any more time?
No,
think-
Mr. Chairman, thank you.
All right, Health and Human Services.
Yep, Health and Human Services had 5 resolutions this month. I'd like to ask to bundle HH1 through HH4. Make a motion for those.
Move it.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Any discussion on HH 1 through 4? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried.
HH5, amending the mental health 2018 budget to adjust state aid funding for certain contract agencies.
Move it.
Second.
Mr. Petras,
Chair, I want to go on record as abstaining from HH5.
any other discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Ms. Daly, anything else for us?
Nope.
All right, Government Ops.
Mr. Chairman, Government Operations has 6 resolutions that were brought through committee, passed, and I offer them up as a bundle tonight unless anyone would like one singled out.
Move it.
Second.
GO 1 through 6, any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That is carried. Would anybody like to speak on the public hearing issue?
Close it.
Okay, we
And
will,
land into ag district.
so we will continue on. Can I close that now?
Yes.
Okay. So we will close the public hearing on the land into ag issue, or district. Moving on to planning.
Mr. Chairman, planning has 5 resolutions before you've been through committee and seek approval.
Would anybody like any of planning resolutions separated?
God, no.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
Those are carried. Public Works.
Mr. Chairman, Public Works has 8 resolutions, all been through committee. I'm looking for approval. I'd like the bundle.
Move them.
Second.
Would anybody like any separated? Any discussion? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried. Judicial and Public Safety.
Judicial and Public Safety, Mr. Chairman, has 7 resolutions. I'd like to bundle JP 1 through JP 7 unless anyone wants one separated.
Mr. Foley.
Just a quick question. For JP7, the CARP grant, was that, I know that this was possibly discussed while I was at committee. It was discussed at committee, but it was going to be brought forward next month? Or is this, there were two discussions about CARP grant and one was,
Yeah, it was discussed at committee, and it was said that you could be brought to Ways and Means, which it was. So it went through Ways and Means.
Yeah, you weren't there. Ways and Means was on.
Mr. Vitale.
I'd like to separate out 2 and 3.
All right, so we will have JP 1, 4, 5, 6, and 7 as a bundle. Any discussion on those resolutions? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Those are carried.
So JP 2 is authorizing changes to the 2018 Cayuga County Compensation Plan to reflect salary increases of certain non-bargaining positions in the Cayuga County Sheriff's Office.
Any discussion on JP 2?
And
Mr. Batman?
those are which positions?
I was just gonna pull them up. One of them is for this building, one of them's for the court, but I don't recall which was which. And I was just about
This is for the
to,
court.
I was just about to look
Court is
at.
funded.
Yeah, this one's for the court.
No, I have to look it up to
This is for
confirm.
the county office building.
That's the county office.
JP
But it puts us in line with the courts, right, Sheriff?
Closer.
Pardon?
It puts us more in line with the courts?
No, it doesn't.
No, we're still gonna be a couple dollars an hour behind the courts.
But we're making an adjustment to the courts that is funded, right?
You know, the courts are funded by the 7th district, by the,
So we're just matching the increase, basically,
Yes.
for our guys here. All right. Further, Mr. Batman?
Yeah, if this is for this building, I support the security in this building. I support giving the security in this building more money when it's part of a budget process. But to do it mid-year concerns me. I'm going to remind everyone, this body increased the number of people in security by 33% in this year's budget. And I think that indicates that we do support the security in this building. The problem is, it's a mid-year increase, and we've seen this over the years, where we come in, and there's a good reason, always. Everyone has heard me say, our department heads do not come forward with crazy ideas. So there's a good reason to do this. You can make a justification. It remains the case. It's mid-year. It was not budgeted. Of course, we can find money. We can always find money. But at the end of the year, as I just said a little while ago, in order to balance our budget, that money needs to be available for that purpose. If we approve this mid-year, what about the next thing, and the next thing, and the next thing? We need to hold to our budget, and unless it's an emergency, I think what we just voted on was an emergency in the treasurer's office. But if it's routine, we simply need to have the discipline to say, let's look to the next budget cycle and deal with the issue then, instead of taking it from this year's budget when it was not planned for, it was not budgeted, and it's not an emergency.
Mr. Whitman?
How much of a draw is this going to have on the budget? What is the total?
Lynn, do you have those numbers?
I think I may remember it was gonna be